This episode of the Mike on Much podcast is brought to you by The Neighborhood, starring Frank D'Angelo in select theaters August 18th.
We going to do that screening, boys, or what? What do you think?
I think we should do it. Let's do it at the end of August or something. Who's free? You guys available?
Yeah, I'll be coming back from a trip, but I'm in.
That'd be cool.
Let's do it.
And we're gonna do it at Frank's house. Or
I might need to talk to him about that, but we could do it maybe just at a normal theater, maybe have like a Q&A thing up the top. Maybe Frank have him there. Or maybe do it at Frank's house.
Okay, so potential screening is pending. If you're listening and you're interested, let us know your enthusiasm. We're not guaranteeing anything.
Yeah, it's an idea.
The Neighborhood, in select theaters, August 18th. Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I am your host, Mike Veerman, and I am here with my friend and trusted producer, Max Kerman. Max, how's it going?
I'm pretty tired, actually.
I'm loving the energy.
Yeah.
Let's get it up a bit.
Okay. I'm pretty tired, man.
We're also here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. Shane, how are you doing?
Also tired, but loving life.
Yeah, well, the reason why I'm tired is that Lauren is on a Euro trip right now, and she's out partying every night. She's out in like techno clubs in Berlin.
That's exhausting for the
9
boyfriend.
in the morning. Well, no, then I feel like I have to keep up. So like the last week, I've been like really trying my best to keep up over here, holding it down in Hamilton, Toronto.
So you're partying hard to try and match her partying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got like a little competitive and jealous about it. So I was like, she's going to go out? Well, I'm going to go out.
Is that why you got in a car accident today with J.R. Diggs? Sleeping at the wheel?
Okay, so let me preface this. We sat down. We were both, Shane and I just got off a bus from Toronto. We're at Max's place. We're recording this pod. We're just about to start rolling. And Max goes, I got in a car accident today with J.R. Diggs. And me and Shane are both like, is this your first podcast?
You guys I've never seen you so angry.
Well, it was just before he hit record.
It was literally 5 seconds before you
Yeah, we lost the genuine reaction.
Yeah.
So are you okay? You seem okay.
Everything's fine.
You're a little tired. All right. Well, we have lots to get to today. Today on the show, we have Maggie Rogers and the band Dawes, who, Max, you talked to. We'll get to them in a bit. The reason we talked to Maggie Rogers and Dawes is because we were at Osheaga Festival in Montreal. Second week in a row away. We did a bunch of interviews. We did a little bit of partying. We saw some music. That's what they do there. That's why people go to that thing.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. And we had a good time. So what were your guys' feelings on Osheaga?
Yeah. Well, the weekend, it was kind of a crazy weekend for me because it started on the Thursday. We drove up to Muskoka for Kita Bala, and I was with Ash, our manager, Dan, and The Nut. We were going to have a big road trip up to Kita Bala and then over to Osheaga. And I got a text the previous morning from an unknown Toronto number saying, hey, Paul Coffey here. Heard you're coming to the cottage. Let's make some plans. And I was like, oh, wow.
Some of our listeners might not know who Paul Coffey is.
Give us some context for Paul Coffey.
Paul Coffey is a legendary defenseman. He has won a Stanley Cup with Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier. He's won a Stanley Cup with Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr.
You did your homework. 4 Stanley Cup rings.
4 Stanley Cups, which you know personally from what I've heard.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. So basically one of my Puck Bunny friends, Luke Gadzik, who plays for the Calgary Flames, he had been texting me saying we're going to Paul Coffey's cottage. But I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. And then all of a sudden I'm on the phone with Paul Coffey and he's like, wants to know like what kind of drinks we want. He like, do you guys like chicken or steak? And I was like, yeah, like sounds awesome. I'm in. So anyway, we sound check, and then I asked the guys in the band because like, guys, who wants to go to Paul Coffey's place? And the guys in the band were like, nah, I'm gonna go back to our cottage and have a nap. Nobody was interested. I was like, okay, guys, I guess it's just me, Dan, the Nut, and Nash heading over. And I think he thinks he's entertaining the whole band, but like we show up to the dock at this marina because of course he lives on an island. He doesn't live in a normal cottage. You have to take a boat to get there. And it's just the 4 of us. And the Nut was dressed up like the Nut. How would you describe the way the Nut looks?
Oh, he's got his big beard.
He's got a massive beard.
He's like sort of tapered fancy jogging pants, like some fresh Nikes that somebody sent him for free.
Yeah.
A fitted sweater.
Yeah,
Oh, a jean coat. He's obsessed with the jean coat.
He was wearing a jean coat, but he also had these like absurd sunglasses.
They're kind of like, I think he's trying to copy Liam Gallagher lately.
Okay.
Because they were the same as Liam Gallagher. And he was trying to wear a Liam Gallagher coat on the weekend too.
Yeah.
That he referred to as his Gallagher coat.
Oh, really? Okay.
And his glasses were very similar to Liam's.
So, and we know the Nut, and like all of our friends are just our friends. We don't like, if somebody's wearing something kind of goofy, maybe we'll tease them, but we don't really think of it. But when we were pulling up, I was like, just trying to put myself in the position of Paul Coffey, thinking like, who the hell is this random guy with Max? And so we get in the boat, and it's like we're racing across the ocean. No, it's a lake actually. And his boat is called Glory Days, like after the Bruce Springsteen song.
Oh, okay.
And we pull up, and you can just tell the nut is on cloud 9 because this is right up the nut's alley. Like driving in this like really fancy like yacht thing into this private exclusive cottage. Things are going great. We pull up. Paul Coffey's wife Stephanie greets us. She's like really kind, like great shape, just
classic
like,
hockey wife look.
Yeah, exactly. And she like offering us drinks immediately and trying to make us feel right at home. She's like, you guys got to go swimming. The water is amazing right now. And I'm kind of thinking, maybe I'd go for a swim. I'm already like a little self-conscious about taking my shirt off around Paul Coffey because he's like a professional athlete. And then
he's a form, but he's like 50, right?
But he's 50, but still,
he's still in great shape.
He's still in good
Better
shape.
shape than you?
I didn't see him with his shirt off.
What happened didn't get too crazy.
No, his son, his 19-year-old son, and like 10 of his friends come in, and it's like they're straight out of the OC. Like each one of them had like a 12-pack, and there's like these beautiful blonde boys just like dripping wet from the swimming pool. And I'm just like, nah, that's cool. I'm just gonna hang out. It's fine.
Hey, Nut, you got an extra coat I can borrow?
Yeah, it's like, give me another layer. Everything was amazing. They drive us back to Kitabala. The show goes awesome. Paul Coffey and all of his like kids and friends, they all came to the show and had a great time. So anyway, that we got to Montreal.
But wait, was he blown away after the show? Like, was he treating you like you were a celebrity?
Yeah, he's been texting me like the whole weekend. And it's been
I also heard though that he pulled out his Stanley Cup ring.
Yeah, that's the thing. The first thing we see when we go in there, they're sitting on the kitchen table.
Did you try one on?
I didn't, but the
nut had to have
did.
put them on.
Of course he did. Yeah, the nut loved those Stanley Cup rings. It was like pretty awesome.
Yeah, lots of blonde, beautiful boys.
Yeah. So then we drove to Montreal and met up with you guys.
That's right. Yeah. We were there. We were already there and working and doing interviews. We got to Osheaga. Is it Osheaga?
I don't know.
Whatever. Right? You want to say it right, but at the end of the day.
Now on Friday night, I mentioned this on the Facebook Live, but I want to say it again for our podcast listeners, is we went to this hip hop bar called the Blue Dog, which is a very cool, like hipster hip hop spot. How would you say?
Well, we did our day of work.
Yeah, you did a day of work.
You guys got into town at like 9 at night or something crazy. We get back to the hotel. You guys are having beers in the room. Everybody's happy to see each other.
We're debating about a Instagram story that I ended up deleting. I made an executive decision, and that led to a 2-hour argument.
An admittal, a story that you found funny, though.
Yeah. The long and the short is that, should we get into this?
While we were at the tent, the media tent, and we were waiting to interview somebody, they had a feed from the stage. And so Tovlo, that's how you say that, right?
Tovlo.
She was on the stage and she just flashed like
that's sort of her
everybody.
Move. She flashes everybody.
She's like the Shamar Moore of women.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I think that's what they call her,
yeah. And then so we're doing an Instagram story. Webmaster Dan is filming it. And so I'm like, we've got so-and-so coming up, blah, blah, blah. But Tovlo just flashed everybody from the stage at Osheaga. And then it pans over to Shane, and Shane pulls down his sunglasses and he goes, boing. So that was the story.
See, it still gets laughs.
I still think it's funny.
I don't think that was the issue.
Okay,
I think
so the second part, the very next snap was we just talked to Maggie Rogers, right? Or
we're waiting for Maggie Rogers to show up.
And then it pans over to Shane again, and Shane goes,
boing. and Maggie's very feministy. I guess that's the term. I guess she's like a very proper girl. She like we had a
she's a lady.
Well, look, you went from
grown women like being called girls, right? I guess the reason the boing was inappropriate was because I was kind of saying it as not myself.
You're saying it as a character.
A character who would be a frat boy type person to say boing.
Yeah. So that led into a 2-hour debate over, what you can do in the world of comedy, how it relates to this podcast. Maybe we should let our listeners let us know. It was boing inappropriate.
I feel like I won the debate, though.
Well, either way, Max deleted both of them.
Yeah.
And that's what led to the big thing, was whether or not they should have been deleted.
Yeah.
Well, I felt like everyone agreed with me that it should have stayed in the end.
I don't think
that happened.
No? We were all pretty drunk.
So then from there, we end up going to this hip-hop bar, and the Nut wants us, it was called the Blue Dog.
The Blue Dog.
It was a good time. The Nut gets us in past the line.
Yeah, he took care of everybody. And then we ended up, we're like, you know what? I got a big day tomorrow. We have a show to play. We have a bunch of press to do. And I was like, let's get out of here. Let's go to a poutine place. You had left already with Alex, right? Yeah. And so basically Ash, the Nut, Mikey, and I go to this poutine place, which is the most famous poutine place in Montreal. And there's, of course, is a really long line, and it's a diner, so people are waiting to be sat. And the Nut just goes, let me take care of this. And we're just thinking, there's no way the Nut is going to be able to get us blind bypass at a poutine place.
Oh, by the way, why is there a bouncer at the poutine place?
It's because it's that crazy. It gets that busy.
It was a huge line.
They need somebody to take control.
Yeah.
So basically, the bouncer comes up to us and he looks at Mike and says, "You got to put down those beers. But after you do that, you can come with us." Mike had snuck 2 PBRs, tall boys, from the Blue Dog into the cab to this place, and then Mike's like. And Mike was like indignant about having to put down his beer.
I thought Montreal was loose, baby.
Yeah. And I was like, "Mike, just put him down. Let's go." And then he's like, and then we get to the front and Mike's still sort of annoyed that he had to put down the beer.
I did tell a couple bros, I said, "Hey man, these beers are fresh." I didn't even drink out of one of them. And they seemed very grateful.
Yeah. So you're a man of the people. I like
to be a man of the people.
And
Not the bouncers though.
And anyway, Mike says, Jean-Claude Van Damme over here made me put down my beer because he kind of looked like Jean-Claude Van Damme. And so when we got to the front, Mike was still talking about the beers that he lost. And
that's not a good burn, by the way. He's one of the best looking men ever.
But it annoyed the bouncer. Yeah. Like
well, then Mike was like, he's like, let's put down the beers. And he's kind of muttering. And then the bouncer's like, I didn't have to bring you to the front here. He's like, I'm sorry. And the bouncer walks away. He's like, Jean-Claude Van Lame.
Oh, that's a better burn.
There you go.
So the night ended with poutine. We all went to bed, and it was awesome.
How do you get in?
Yeah. So the way we got in is that the Nut told the bouncer that I was on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
But we're in Canada. Like, you're in a big band. What if he had known the Arkells? Isn't that enough?
Montreal is like another country.
Okay.
It's like Quebec is another country. It's not like the rest of Canada. If this was a bar in like Calgary or something, that might have been just fun. Arkell's card could have worked. Quebec, all bets are off. So you have to go with the NHL team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So then day 2, we were back to Osheaga. We actually ended up in the Virgin Mobile Members Lounge, which was a really cool hang. Lots of great people. We did a Facebook Live from there.
Shout out to Virgin Mobile.
Big shout out. We end up splitting off again. Max goes to get prepped, do all of his things for performing, whatever. And then Shane and I sort of get into media mode. So we go from the Virgin Mobile Lounge because we got to go to the media tent. And the thing about the media tent is at like these festivals, you have like a little wristband that blinks you in. But webmaster Dan, who's producing all these things because you're playing this day, Max, his wristband does not get him into the media tent. I don't know what the accreditation situation was, but it wouldn't beep in. But we had a guy the first day that was kind of like, "You're cool." The second day, we go, they would not let us in. I'm kind of eating my pasta, and this woman will not let him in, and she won't quite understand what I'm trying to say, which is like, "No, I know it doesn't let him in, but we had like a guy the day before, like he's with us, he's producing these pods."
Well, like Mike, regardless of who he's talking to, he talks with his hands a lot. Like even when he was saying, "I was eating my pasta," he went like that. Right?
Yeah, he makes the eating the pasta.
Mike does that a lot, but English speaking, we don't take any condescension to it. Yeah. It just seems like, okay, this guy just talks with his hands. Maybe he's Italian. Yeah. But this woman he's talking to, he's like, "Oh, we're here to do interviews," and she speaks half French, half English.
I'm pantomiming microphones, like my mouth to her mouth.
Okay. So she's like, "Don't you condescend to me?" She's like, "I know what you're doing, okay, and I don't like it, and don't you condescend." And Mike's always very nice to people, especially when he first meets you, right? Like Mike's super nice. He likes you if he's not being too nice, if he's like mildly rude to you. But when he first meets you, he's very nice. So then he doesn't even know how to like get mad at the woman. So it was kind of funny for me to watch as an outsider, and I kind of really enjoyed like someone Eddie Deliseppiing Mike. Like
I want to say something to her, like, "Actually, you know what? Like, you're here to help facilitate our situation. Dan is producing this pod. I was just trying to explain it to you. You're actually being condescending." But I'm also like, I can't get kicked out of here. We have 3 interviews today. And if it escalates, she ultimately has the power. She's the gatekeeper. Yeah.
I was watching the hamster spin too.
Could you see it in my brain? And I was... I was so mad, and I was ready to whatever, like be a dick and throw a tantrum, but I knew I was going to lose that battle because she's the boss applesauce.
It's like when a coach in the NBA like is contemplating whether to get ejected from the game in the first or second quarter. You're like, I know I shouldn't. I really want to, but I have a whole other game to coach and a whole other afternoon of interviews to do.
Yeah, so that happened. And then I was just kind of fuming for about 20 minutes as I like angrily finished my pasta. And webmaster Dan was like, don't worry about it, man. He's like, that was really weird. That was really weird. But then that was making me mad because I'm like, I don't need a pep talk. I'm like, just leave me alone. Let me just do my research. But yeah, so that was interesting.
Oh, well, we were sitting beside a guy in that tent too who had kind of a funny thing. We were talking about JFL because, you buddy up with the media guy. And this one guy was, very, and he was an extreme extrovert. He liked talking a lot. And I was saying how
Big fan of yours.
I was saying how I met Jim Carrey and Jay Baruchel the previous week. He's like, Jay Baruchel, I hate that guy. We're like, oh, that seems extreme. Why? He fucked my wife. We were like, what? He's like, yeah, 10 years ago, one night stand, he fucked my wife. He's like, at first it didn't make me mad, but over the years I've gotten angrier and angrier to the point where
He's just telling anybody who listens.
He was telling it so loud.
Webmaster Dan's like, can you have a little decorum?
That's what he said. So we finish our interviews. We end up going out into the park because Liam Gallagher's playing. We want to get a beer. While we're standing in line for beers, Shane and I get recognized for the pod. Like,
hey!
Guys that listen to the pod. We got recognized by a guy named Kai and Jeff. And they're with a couple of their buddies. Well, the other guy was named Raphael. I remember that because I remember my wife's favorite
Ninja Turtle. Yes.
No. Tennis player is Raphael Nadal. I was like, so I'll remember your name, dude.
These guys had bods like Raphael Nadal. Like, did you see the one guy?
Yeah, they're just
he
young.
was ripped. And these were the hardcore fans. Like, they DM us and stuff.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Well, the first thing one guy asked, so they're like, "Oh, hey, we're huge fans. What's up?" And they know stuff. And then literally within like 30 seconds, guy turns to Shane. He's like, "Is your wife here, man?"
And they go, "I don't think she's hot at all," like sarcastically to like not make me mad. Yeah, I love going to the Arkell show because that's where the hotbed of Mike on Much fans is. So I kind of feel like somewhat famous.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. And then you guys performed that night.
We had a nice little Saturday night set. It was it was awesome. I felt great from the stage.
Like, how many fans are watching that?
It was
that seemed like 80,000 people were there.
Yeah, it was a lot of people. I don't know how many people.
And
were
they
at our
all
stage.
were into the band. Like, everyone was singing every word. Whereas when I saw Liam Gallagher, you look around, people weren't really half as into it as they were you. Like,
well, actually, before we get to this, and this kind of gets back to the nut.
Apparently, he was offended because we were playing on the third stage. That there was no VIP area. He heard that there was no VIP area to watch the show. And he's like, this is just embarrassing for the band. I feel so bad for the band that they're playing on a stage, that there's no VIP area. Anyway, though, I turned around and you guys were in some tower looking over the people.
He made his own VIP area.
He built it himself, yeah.
But I liked seeing you guys there because during the show, I'd be able to look over, wave to you guys.
Yeah, you gave Nut a shout out mid-song.
Yeah, and Drake's dad, where he gets a shout out. So.
Yeah, that video I directed. I didn't get anything. Like, nothing.
You're the guys that you do the show with every week. But then afterwards, who cares about that?
So after that, we all get split up again, but we know we're going to meet up later to have like a bit of a party.
Yeah.
So me and the Nut, our friend Emma and Webmaster Dan end up back in the Virgin Mobile Lounge. And Emma happens to be friends with the girl Michelle Milette that is in Letterkenny, stars in Letterkenny. So she's like, so we're all in there. It kind of starts raining. She's like, hey, do you think you can get the cast of Letterkenny into the Virgin Mobile Lounge? And I'm like, yeah, I probably can. So I talked to the dudes. I talked to Wes. He manages to get them into the lounge. They're all hanging out. But I know that there was rumors that I guess every year Jared has people back at his
Yeah, because I partied at his place after our Montreal show, and he's got a beautiful place in Old Montreal, and he does it every year at Oshiega. He invites people over.
So Jared Kiso is the star of Letterkenny.
Former guest on the pod.
Former pod guest. And so we were all kind of buzzing that we might get to go to this party or whatever.
Yeah, and because when we played in Montreal, what happened was Frank Turner wanted to do a house show because Frank was opening the set. So Frank has a lot of energy. So he just met Jared, who he didn't know from a hole in the wall. He didn't know that Jared's like kind of a bit of a celebrity in town. And he's like, can I just use your place for a house show? And Jared, who's like the most laid back guy ever, is like, sure. So then Frank Turner, who has like hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers, is like, hey, house show in Montreal. If you want to come, email me. And then, of course, all these Frank Turner like hardcore fans get the address for Jared's place. And all of a sudden at like 1 a.m. after our set in Montreal, Jared's place is full of like 75 Frank Turner fans. And Frank Turner's like sitting playing songs for like 3 hours. And Jared Kiso and his girlfriend Meg like were so cool about it. They were literally handing out beers for 4 hours. Just like they catered like the whole thing. And so I knew that Jared was really laid back. So I had a bunch of friends in town. I was like, yeah, just come over to Jared's place. Like, normally you wouldn't like kind of be extending invitations to people who don't know the host. I was just like, no, let's do it. So I probably had like 10 random people who I don't even really know that well to just be like, yeah, just come to Jared's place. Well, and one of them who I didn't know at all was a huge Letterkenny fan. Had like, he was like at 3 a.m. was like, oh my God, that's the guy. I'm like, yeah, that's his house. And he's like, can I go talk to him? I'm like, sure. So that was cool.
So Shane and I left that Jared Kiso party at like 3:30 in the morning, and you were still standing on a couch holding court.
Well, here's the thing.
And you had a flight at like 7 in the morning.
I never do this, but again, I knew Lauren was out in like Berlin at a techno club till like 9 in the morning or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to just keep going. And also it didn't make sense for me to go back to the hotel, sleep for half an hour, and then just have to get up again.
I was wondering, it's very rare for Max to go all the way through. And
I did it. And my end game plan was to get Fairmont Bagels, because Fairmont Bagels are open 24 hours a day, and I hadn't had my Montreal bagels yet. So I went to Fairmont Bagels, and that kept me up.
Were you horribly hungover on the plane?
No, I was just kind of tired. I had a good nap when I got to Mendoza.
It's a very rock star evening for you.
Yeah.
You played a massive show, went to a TV star's loft party, and then did not sleep and got on a plane to the next gig.
Well, the whole weekend, I was like hanging out with Paul Coffey, drinking $1 billion tequila shots.
All right, so today on the show, we have Maggie Rogers and Dawes. So Maggie was a delight. Shane and I sat with Maggie.
Dan, we missed the Friday set because we were driving from Kitabala. And Dan, who was in the car with us, who usually has no interest in going to see live music at all, really wanted to see Maggie Rogers. He is enthralled by her. Obviously, her performance with Pharrell, which I'm sure you guys get to. That's what caught his attention, and he was very sad to miss the show.
Yeah, so if you're listening and you're not quite super familiar with who Maggie Rogers is, she was an NYU student taking music, and Pharrell showed up for this music class, basically where he was going to sort of judge people's songs. They were given an assignment where they had to write a song and bring it in, and record it, and then he was the guy critiquing it. Nobody knew this, and you can see it. It went super viral. He was blown away by her song and thought it was phenomenal, and it basically launched her sort of career in sort of the popular zeitgeist. But she was really nice and down to earth and talked a lot about that and being an artist. Then we talked to Dawes, who's also on this, and Max is a bit of a super fan.
Yeah, the whole band are massive fans of Dawes, and I had texted you the day before saying, can I just lead this interview? And so I was so excited to talk to him. And I've heard Taylor interviewed another podcast, and he's like a really thoughtful guy, really well-spoken.
Well, before you get to that, I was very excited for you to take the lead on this interview as well, because it was one of the last ones of the day, and I was like, okay, I'll do some light research, but really Max is going to do the heavy lifting. So me and Shane are sitting there, and they're like, the band is here. And I'm like, but Max is not here.
Because I was doing press myself.
And Artist World's like over there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, okay. I'm like, Shane, if Max doesn't show up, can you are you good to kind of take the lead on this? And he said, hell no.
Well, I thought you would be there for sure. And then Webmaster Dan is texting you constantly. So as the Dawes sit down or whatever they're called, clearly I know nothing about them. I call you while they're sitting, and I'm like, they're here. You're like, oh shit, okay, I'm coming. And then I have to awkwardly sit with them. I'm like, hey, you guys know Max Kerman? It's like, no. I'm like, uh-oh. I thought all you band guys just knew each other or something. I think you're huge, right? You're about to play for 80,000 people. So.
Yeah, I know. They're Southern California guys.
And then I said some other stuff, and then Mike's like, you're framing this all wrong. And then took over, and I just got up and left.
And then I arrived shortly after.
You were great. So once I could see you entering the media tent, I was like, okay, I can small talk these guys for the minute it takes him to get over here.
Yeah.
Shane literally vanished. He ghosted. Yeah, I looked to my right and he was gone.
Well, Liam Gallagher was playing too, so I want to run out and see him.
So yeah, then you come through and you sat down and you went to work, Max. Everyone's gonna hear this. This is great.
So this is me taking the lead on this. Also, he's dating Mandy Moore. So and that was one of the questions. If you listen to the interview, because there's one song where there's some female voices on it, and I thought it was Mandy Moore. And then he mentions, I asked him who are the girl singers on the song. He's like, actually, my girlfriend Mandy and the band Lucius. But anyway, amazing songwriter, killer band, and band nerds are gonna like this, I think.
Want to get to the interviews?
Get to it.
How's it going? Feeling good?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be back in Montreal. Montreal.
Neither of us speak French, so
cool.
That was impressive.
Thank you. I tried.
You sold me on that.
I really went for it. I just had an amazing set. The crowd was so in it and present, and it just totally changed my entire day.
How much have you been doing festivals since everything started happening for you?
I've been on tour. I've been on tour since January, but my summer tour started in June.
Right.
And so I actually, before this, I was in Tokyo, which I played at a festival called Fuji Rock in Japan, which was insane.
How was Tokyo just in general?
I felt weirdly really comfortable there. I loved it as a city, just so colorful, and everything is really considered, like the food and the design, and we got to go into the mountains to the festival. So I really enjoyed my time there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's the festivals have sort of, it's been the whole summer. It's crazy that it's taken me around the world at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess getting back to sort of the start of this crazy journey, like the viral video and your story, I think of the masterclass and Pharrell sort of discovering you, it's quite well known. Like, I guess talk about what the previous years were like leading up to that, you know? So you were making music and...
I've been writing songs since I was about 12 and producing my own music since I was 15.
Yeah.
I made my first record when I was a senior in high school. And it was sort of those early demos that got me accepted to a production and engineering school at NYU.
Yeah.
And so I spent the 4 years before that moment studying. And I worked... I had a couple years of writer's block, so I actually thought I was going to be a journalist and worked in journalism for a while.
Wow.
Because I sort of was like, all right, if I don't want to tell my story right now, I'll just tell other people's stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of work leading up to that moment.
Did you always see, like, you know, so you're going to school for music, you've been writing music for a long time. Was the end goal to sort of have success on the level that you have now? Like, oh, I want to be out front. I'd love to be playing festivals, touring. Or is this sort of something that maybe you didn't even imagine?
I mean, the end goal has always been to just create some sort of situation where I can always be making things.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, I love making music. And I think that's still what the goal is. But, you know, I've in college and in high school, I played in a bunch of bands, whether it's bass in a punk band or banjo in a folk band. And, you know, there's definitely a song in every band and a moment where everyone's like, what if we got to play this at a festival, for a festival crowd? And so it's been so exciting to see my songs then translate into that space.
So, like, you're playing major festivals, you're doing this, like, the club tour and all that stuff. What have you found this last year is the biggest learning curve when it comes to that, getting out on the road and finding yourself as far as like a...
I mean, I think the road is just a learning curve. I'm so much better at it now, but it was really hard at first because it's exhausting in a way you're not familiar with. Because, you know, I'm not like in class or working on a paper, and yet it's just really draining because you're traveling and you're talking to a lot of people. You know, even after my first festival, it's kind of a crazy story, but I played Firefly, which was like 40 minutes from where I grew up. So I got to sleep in my childhood bedroom. It was amazing.
Did the family come out?
All my family came. Friends from middle school came. It was great.
All the ticket requests?
Yeah. But after my show, I sort of like, I got off stage and I ripped out my in-ears and my shirt and just started sprinting. I just started running. And it was just like, it was so much energy, so many more people that I wasn't used to, that I felt like I was electrocuted. I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, okay, I feel good about the set. I need to just like run or like figure out. It's just like a whole learning curve of what to do when, you know, it's like a wave.
Yeah. When you were, you just did James Corden.
Yes.
How's James to be around?
Oh, he's lovely.
Did you think he came into the green room and talked to you before and all that stuff?
Yeah. He's super, super down to earth. I haven't met every late night host I've been on their show, but James like really made a point to say hello, and yeah, he's really great. When you're doing a performance like that, how do you prep? How do you walk through it? Are you So late night TV is it's like the weirdest performance space because there's no reaction from the crowd. So it feels almost like an inauthentic engagement because like you're like giving your all to like a seated, quiet audience who are paying attention. But so the vibe's weird, like the energy is not there. The vibe is very strange. Right. And actually, I didn't really realize I was prepping for it. But the last gig I did before my first late night TV show, which was Jimmy Fallon. Yeah. The Tonight Show. The last gig I did before that was a like 150, 200 cap like dinner theater room in Northampton, Massachusetts, which like I'm moving a lot during my set. So I was playing the show and like everyone's just like staring and sitting and eating. And it was a really uncomfortable show, but about halfway through, I sort of got over the fact, no matter how many times I'd sort of like prompted the audience of like, you can move. Halfway through, I got over the fact that everyone was going to sit, and I just had a really great time. And I think that that's sort of the key to the late night situation as well.
Like you almost just have to kind of do it for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You just got to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add there, Shani boy?
I didn't even know this mic was plugged in. No, I don't know. No, he told me to sit here and look cool. So
yeah, that's his
You did
role
a
on the
good
show.
job.
Thank you.
You dance in your videos, and like I think we have a sense sort of like who your musical reference points are. But I mean, who are your dance reference points?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I love Pina Bausch, and I love like Spice Girls videos.
Yeah.
So some combination of like free movement and like 90s dance moves.
Like the wannabe video when they're running
Yeah.
through the dinner club. And,
I just want that to be me all the time.
yeah.
I like to hit a little like Backstreet Boys like knee bounce. I don't know. On stage, I feel like I'm a little bit of a spaz sometimes. I kind of just like, I realized a little bit ago that the performer sort of gives the audience permission to move. And so
They take their cues from you.
I think so. I think that if the performer lets go and is just like in their body and enjoying the music and hearing the music and processing it physically, then I think the audience will do that as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, that like there are contradictions, like a DJ set, but I have had the most like mental, physical release in those sort of situations.
Right. How involved are you sort of in the creative for the videos? Are you very hands-on with sort of all the aspects of your career?
Yeah, I wrote all of the treatments for all of my videos when I was actually still in school.
So these are like ideas that you'd had,
Yeah.
and now you're being able to sort of...
Yeah, it was amazing. The Alaska video we shot at my house in Maryland. The Dog
Wow.
Years video we shot at my summer camp. The On and Off video was on a soundstage like a couple blocks from my house in New York. So we sort of hit all of the important places. But I got to work with this incredible all-female team, and all of the people in the videos are like my friends from college. So it was really crazy, especially for like the Alaska video, having this idea in like March of my senior year for this video, and then getting to then in September invite all of my friends to my house in Maryland for a party with a major film crew and like a budget. And I love budget. It's amazing.
You can do so many things.
I love budgets. Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess lastly, I mean, for our listeners, to be able to sort of like take that huge leap, get that big break that you've had, what advice would you give to anybody who maybe finds himself in a similar situation where their life changes so drastically?
Well, the thing about the change that happened in my life is that I also spent 4 years educating myself and preparing myself for it. So everything happened really fast, but I spent 4 years studying production and the music industry and recorded music history. So then when all the change happened, the learning curve was steep, but I already sort of spoke the language.
Yeah.
And I think because I had an education, I've been able to really maintain and hold my creative power in all of this situation and not get lost in it. So I would just say to educate yourself.
Prepare for the moment
Yeah.
if it happens.
Yeah, be ready.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate it. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Nice. We're just going to roll right into this thing. Just keep
Cool.
doing
Do
it.
you guys know Max Kerman from the Arkells?
No.
Never mind. We're just going to switch mics halfway through this interview.
Oh, there he is. He's coming up now. We're going to end up swapping out hosts on this show. So
I think he's your biggest fan, so he's going to like.
Oh,
take
now
this
you
over.
prefaced it weird. He's playing the festival as well. So
cool.
basically the way it works is, so he's in a band here in Canada. And we started this show together for Much. You guys know Much? It's like the MTV.
Yeah.
Awesome, cool, yeah. So anyway, we started. This is Max, by the way.
Hey, man, Taylor.
Taylor, good to meet you. Hey, Riley, how's it going?
So what time are you guys on today?
They
just
Oh,
walked
you just
off.
came off the
Yeah.
stage. Oh, shit.
How'd it go?
It was cool. Yeah. It was cool. It was like, Muse is on that stage in a few hours, so you could see all the shirts and like the looks of like, we want our band. But but by the end of the set, it felt like a lot of those people that like clearly had no idea who we are were somewhat enjoying themselves,
Yeah,
I guess.
winning
As
them
much-
over.
Yeah.
That's
as much as
awesome.
you could hope.
Do you find like, I mean, something like that where you get up on stage, you see in the Muse shirts, do you like the challenge of like, we're going to win these people over, or maybe they're going to hear something they haven't heard?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the challenge is nice. I mean, I feel like we'd probably rather play to 100,000 people that already knew our band, but sure, the challenge is great. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird thing because like this I feel like tastes are so compartmentalized this day and age. Like the band that we heard across the lawn before we were playing was just, it didn't sound like there were any instruments at all, and I'm sure it's wonderful, but it's just, if someone's gonna go enjoy that and then we're gonna do our thing with like, you know, like slower songs with too many verses and too many guitar breaks and like you know, almost by the criteria alone, it's like, are people at a contemporary festival going to enjoy that as much as they would have, say, not even that long ago, like 10 years ago or something?
Yeah, where there was maybe more patience to sort of be in the ebb and flow of that kind of set.
And less electronic music, which again is cool. I don't have anything against it. It's just there seems to be a pretty broad shift.
So I'm a big fan. I play in a band called the Arkells. We're playing tonight, and we listen to you guys all the time. And your last record is our favorite. We love all and so I have some nerdy questions specific to that record that I want to get into. So, Roll Tide. I just found out recently you guys didn't write that one.
No.
What is the story? And that is unusual, I feel like, for a band that's centered in singer-songwriter music to not...
Through the years, our bro Jason Bozell has become somewhat of like a co-writer with me.
Okay.
We wrote When the Tequila Runs Out, like 50-50. We wrote Picture of a Man together. And then he used to make records, but he doesn't anymore. Now he just wants to like be more of a songwriter. And we've been working together on so much. We have a lot more stuff for the next record together. So he's kind of like part of this Dawes family, even though he doesn't tour or get on stage with us. And he had this song Roll Tide that he was sitting on about his relationship with this girl who, when they broke up, she started dating some younger, handsome man from Birmingham.
Some hot dude from
We've all been there.
Yeah. And he was, and so the song was almost like a message to him. And it was such a beautiful song, and it was like, you know, if Jason isn't going to record this,
somebody should.
Yeah, it's got to have a life. So we thought, you know, if Griffin's singing it, maybe it'll add another dimension to the fact that it's like a song that's not a typical like written by Taylor Goldsmith Dawes song. That was kind of the thinking on that. So
it's seamless though. It fits in with the whole record.
Yeah, that's kind of why I've been connecting so much as writers. Is just I feel like when we both write, we seem to get each other's language in terms of the songs that this band puts out, and then the songs that he writes.
So the production on it is like an awesome evolution from the last one. And I read an interview that you were talking about specifically trying to think about sort of the state of like music and sounds in 2017 and how a sort of, lack of a better term, like a folk rock band can be a part of that in some way. And Blake Mills, like, he's also one of our favorite producers. Like everything that he's touched, like the John Legend record is so good.
Yeah.
And I love all the sounds. Were there any specific reference points sort of outside of the world of Americana music that you guys were thinking about from song to song? Like Picture of a Man, for instance, that one. Like what were the reference points for that song? If you can think of it?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah, like if anything,
that's an unusual like.
Yeah. I mean, like weirdly, like some of it will come from stuff that ends up not leaving a fingerprint at all on the final product. Like we were listening, at least I was listening to a lot of those Keith Richards solo records at the time.
Okay.
And the way he was playing guitar on specifically those two records is like its own thing. And obviously, I mean, at least not to me, that song doesn't sound like a Keith Richards song at all. Also, like when we started like cooking it up, like I think people were talking about like, oh, it's kind of has like a Toots and the Maytals.
Yeah, I thought it had a reggae influence.
Organ reggae thing, but like that was totally an accident. I mean, the term reggae is like kind of terrifying to like be associated with our music.
But it
kind of fits with that song.
Who are the female singers on that one?
It's my girlfriend Mandy.
Oh yeah.
And then the girls in Lucius.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
we were pretty lucky to get some badass singers on that one.
Okay, next nerdy question. The keyboard stuff on the record is amazing. And Lee
Pardini.
Yeah, where'd you find him?
He was playing with our buddy Jonathan Wilson for a long time, and he's just one of these guys that was playing, like, he can handle, like, 10 gigs a day and learn any song without even sitting at a piano. He's just, like, a crazy ace. And so when we were in between piano players, he flew out, covered a show, played, like, 30 songs flawlessly without any rehearsals, and just, like, blew our minds.
We even told him the wrong key on one song, and he, like, and we started, and as we were starting, I was realizing,
like, oh, no.
I told him the key at A, and this is in G. And so we hit, and he missed the first chord, and then didn't miss another chord.
Yeah,
just
only
quickly
knows
did the
whole
math in
show.
his
Yeah,
mind.
it was just like,
Quickly,
oh, okay.
and like that to me, that was so.
And he's
heavy.
still bummed about that.
Yeah.
He's still beating himself
Yeah,
up about
exactly.
that
How
one
did I not
off
know what I
chord.
could never have known.
And were those sounds like his ideas, or is that kind of a group conversation when it comes to like what synths or
It was
organs?
kind of
you
yeah, it
want?
was kind of a group thing. I think with Blake and all four of us together, I think like we love electric guitar, we love vocal harmony, we love acoustic piano, we love like the B3 organ, like these very associative instruments, especially in rock and roll. Like if you hear a B3, you're almost inclined to decide before you've heard the whole song what kind of song it is, just
Yeah.
because it's such an associative instrument. And we wanted to take these like more or less traditional like cornerstones of rock and roll, and then figure out a way to really it and figure out a way to really turn it on its head. So for songs like One of Us, where people are like, wow, there's so much synth, it's like that's actually just a clavinet and some guitars.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And then the band. Or We're All Gonna Die, people are like, oh, that sounds like a drum machine. It's actually like a really cool little mini snare, and we just tried to like kind of reimagine otherwise traditional associative instrumentations.
Who did the string arrangement on "We're All Gonna Die"?
This guy Rob Moose, who's a genius.
The
He's like a
space on that
crazy-
song allows for
Yeah,
that.
he's a monster.
He's
It's
great. He
insane
comes into
what
the
he can do.
studio and it's just him playing everything, and he just goes like, "All right, now
after
I'm
track.
violin 1. Okay, new track. Now I'm violin 2. Now I'm viola 3." And he'll just stack it until you're just like, "Jesus Christ, man!"
That's so cool.
Yeah, he's wild.
I saw you. We were on tour in Hamburg, and I saw you guys play with Connor.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. What was it like?
Was that the show that he was like giving away drums and stuff?
I don't. Maybe I missed that.
There was one show he
took him-
like gave away the roto toms to
Well,
someone in
what-
the front row. And
Like at the end of the set or like during?
kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
They were
Drums?
still needed. Yeah.
Like those roto toms, so they were like just on a stand at the end of the
They're
drums.
superfluous.
And he like,
Exactly.
and he was on one that night, and so he just grabbed the rototoms and handed it to someone in the front row, and that person, even though it was the middle of the show, they
Yeah,
turned
it was
around
like-
to start leaving.
Gotta
And then
put him in your car. Man.
and then the main backline tech, Phil, yeah, Big Phil, he like had to go out and get them. He was like, no, he's joking. We need our
like-
gear.
That's expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, that show, I think you guys came up for the encore and started playing the song, and it took him like.
That was the same show.
That's the same show.
Okay, it
yeah,
took him
yeah.
like 15 minutes to come
Yeah,
back.
he
on.
was
So you're just like,
he was
really?
in a way
Yeah.
that night.
Yeah, I was
God
like,
love
same.
him.
I was like, is this part of the bit or?
We were scared because like we were playing. I think what song
It was Gold Mine.
Yeah, Gold
Gutted
Mine
or whatever.
Gutted.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
like.
Which we like never played the whole tour. It was like kind of just like going out for it.
And like, yeah, and we're like, and then we're getting in the groove and waiting for him and waiting for him and waiting for him until it got to a point where we were like scared because we're like, there's no way he's coming, and we're at some point gonna have to stop and like walk off.
And are you thinking about like,
So
how do
you're
I
stretching.
gracefully
Yeah.
tell the crowd that
Like,
the show's
so-
over?
Yeah. It was so weird, but then he came up and we finished it. So
Do you guys have any plans like that? Because you're sort of the band's band. It feels like, and I mean that as a huge compliment.
thanks.
Is there any other plans for that kind of exercise where you'd be on tour with somebody and also be the backing band? Or
we always want to.
Yeah, we always find ourselves doing it. It just kind of happens, but we got no real plans of it as
Yeah.
of now. But we're always open to it if it's someone we like,
Yeah.
with you turned around this last record like in a year. It was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
hardly a year, right?
Yeah.
Was there any pushback from management or label to say space it out a little bit more, or were they excited that you had a new music ready
Well,
to go?
it seems like this. I mean, like it's not like Dawes has ever had some like top 10 single that we've needed to like milk for all it's
Sure.
worth or anything. So for us, it seemed like with the way things are changing, with how much you can just release, it's like you just get more at bats, and like the more we can put stuff out there, it's like the more the more opportunity it gives us to continue touring.
Yeah.
I feel like someone who sees a show on a certain albums tour is like less inclined to go see that same set necessarily. Well, it's not the same set, but that same
course.
tour without a new record. If they haven't put anything out in 2 years or something. So we just thought if we could put out another record, we can keep this thing rolling a
Yeah.
little bit longer.
Well, thank you. I've been wanting to tell you as well. We have a song on our last record. It's called "Making Do," and we rip off your bridge. Our bridge is just your bridge, and it's off not the most recent record, but it's like "Eh, na, 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 from El Paso.
Oh, somewhere along the way.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm gonna send you Making Do, or you just look
Sweet.
it up on Spotify
I'll look it up.
and wait for the bridge,
Yeah.
and then you can send your lawyer stuff.
And you wait for the lawsuit, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but thank you. You guys have kept us company on the road a lot.
man.
Thank you
So,
very
yeah.
much. Means a lot.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Well, cool.
Welcome to the dessert. Shane, what's been going on? It's the dessert. This is your segment.
We had a big lunch, you and I, Mike.
That's right.
With Frank D. Frankie D, as I'm calling him now.
I was in New York City and I could not be there, and I forgot that you guys were on this lunch until maybe the next day. And then I was like, "Oh my god!"
We might have still been on the lunch because it did last quite a long time.
So give me the rundown because I haven't heard anything about this lunch. Where was it?
It was, Shane calls and he's like, hey, Frank wants to do this lunch tomorrow. Like, are you in? I'm like, yeah, I could get like down with that. Like, I'm thinking it's going to be at Forget About It, just down the street, like near work or whatever. And then I agree. And then Shane's like, it's in Kleinberg. I'm like, I've never heard of it. I look it up on Google Maps. I'm like, shit. I'm like, Shane, this is like further than Hamilton from where the work is. He's like, it'll be fine. We'll Uber over.
No, I was like, well, I don't care if you go, Mike, but I'm not missing this for the world. That's what I said. So he kind of lives off the beaten path a little bit. But Frank calls me and he was...
By the way, whenever you hear from Frank, it's an email from his assistant, Gemma.
Yes.
And it just says, Frank needs you to call him.
Yes.
And then you always flip us the email and you go, this could be interesting.
No, I always say, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because I'm worried because I don't want to upset Frank. I don't want to upset anyone, but I especially don't want to upset Frank. So he's like, can you drive? And I'm like, well, technically I can. I'm not a good driver and I don't drive often, but yes. He's like, oh, I was going to send you a driver, like to pick you up. I was like, shit, I should have said I can't drive. That'd be kind of cool. I know this lunch, like it's Frank, there's going to be drinking. I don't really want to drive there, especially from Hamilton, and it's in Kleinberg. I'm going with Mike. So I'm like, we're just going to Uber over. We end up getting in the Uber.
What time?
11 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
to get there for the noon lunch.
But on the way over, I find out that Mike has switched to vegetarianism also.
Really?
Hey, man, when Frank speaks, I listen.
So,
Are we all vegetarians right now? By the way, I've been a vegetarian for the whole week.
really?
Same.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at this.
So
I'd been flirting with it since Okja, and then I was like, you know what? Let's just do the damn thing.
and they call us a bunch of bros.
I'm obsessed with that review. But anywho, Mike and I get into this like epic debate on veganism versus vegetarianism, and
What side were you guys on?
We don't want to
Okay, never
rehash
mind,
the
never
whole
mind,
thing.
never mind,
No,
okay.
but essentially Shane was saying that like dairy's bad, milk and cheese are
the
bad.
way they
or milk and eggs.
Okay, I don't care. Carry on. Yeah.
and it was very unexpected and threw me off a little bit. I was already kind of nervous. We're really getting into it. Mike, I don't really argue with him, but when we do debate, Mike's known for an intense debate in the off time you catch him in that mode. So anyway, like
Our Uber driver must have loved us.
yeah, so very interesting ride. We get there, and I've already looked at the menu because going in there, my first concern is embarrassing myself in front of Frank. And I've read that Frank orders a bunch of meats and cheeses
Wow,
and
you
all
were
of these
prepared.
things. So I looked at the menu.
He's an Italian guy. There's a
And I looked at the vegan option, right? That I could get there, and they had the special gnocchi. So I'm like, perfect. I'm gonna get the gnocchi when it comes to. So we get there, the world's like fanciest restaurant. I Google reviewed this restaurant before we went to, and it only has 5-star reviews or 1-star reviews.
okay.
And there's like 31-star reviews and like 55-star reviews. All the 1-star reviews are like, do not bother going to this place unless you're a bigwig. They only cater to regulars. So Frank's like, hey, sucker. He's like, he's calling waiters sucker. Obviously, Frank's a regular. He's like, you know what I want? You get that thing? It's like, you get that thing? That thing's not here.
And was it just the three of you at the table?
At this point, we were joined by a colleague at another point.
So bottle of $300 wine comes,
How did you-
presumably.
How did you know it was three?
It just looked like it was $300
Did he
minimum.
tell you that?
You could just tell.
Sure.
And then the waiter comes around and kind of asks us what we want. I say, oh, could I have the gnocchi, please? He goes, no gnocchi. And Frank's like, is this a Italian restaurant or what? You sucker, and talks to the waiter, kind of berates him a little bit.
Because they don't have the gnocchi.
And then Frank's like, how about a nice big steak? I'll get you the biggest steak they got.
And now I'm looking at him because we just got in a huge thing in the cab right over.
But Frank's looking at me, and I'm a lot of things, and a hypocrite is one of them. So I'm like, okay. And I just got the biggest, juiciest steak that they had.
I was shocked when you agreed to the steak.
But I've been in that situation before where, for whatever reason, you want to impress the person you're with, and you're just willing to do stuff that you would never do otherwise.
Yeah, I would have eaten a full pig with like the apple in its mouth at that moment.
And then his colleague shows up, Peter, this nice guy that he knows from the neighborhood. Just
like super nice guy, very well off. He owned a very successful business.
Yeah.
But Frank's busting his balls a little bit. All of a sudden, I just make a comment about one of Frank's actors, how my wife is attracted to one of the actors who's older. And then Frank is like, oh, that guy, he's 60 years old. And then Mike hops and he's like, well, Alex married Shane. So what do you think of her taste? I'm like, Mike's busting my balls all of a sudden?
You said that?
I got in on it.
Mike gets in on the ball busting.
Frank was busting Peter's balls.
Peer pressure does a lot of things. Makes you eat steak. Makes you tease your friends.
Mike has never made a comment like about my physical appearance being ugly ever.
I felt like I was in Goodfellas. Like he's busting Peter's balls. Peter's laughing about it.
And I looked at him and he goes, forget about it. I'm like, Mike, who are you right now?
It's like kind of like me around hockey players.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
They just start doing.
No bottle
Of course,
service?
we're going to the bottle service. Yeah.
No, yeah, I assimilated. But yeah, I could see the bewilderment on Shade's face.
And Frank has 3 cell phones with him at all times.
It's true.
One looks like a little BlackBerry from like 2005.
Sure.
Like, that one with the little ball roller. One's like an advanced like Samsung one, huge one. And one kind of looks like an iPhone 6 kind of thing.
Yeah.
You'll be in mid-conversation. He'll just randomly get a call and he'll just like wheel a deal. Like he was like, what is this? CNN? He's like, CNN. They got 3 million viewers at any given time. 60,000? That's it? Do it. Done. Just hangs up. It's like, so anyways, what do you do it or whatever?
Another bottle of wine. Another bottle of wine. We're sitting there, we're going, it's like 12:15, but okay. Like we'll roll.
Another bottle of wine. Another bottle of wine comes. We're starting to get like pretty comfortable.
Has the food arrived yet?
Plates just come. Frank just
okay.
snaps his fingers. Another plate comes, like fruit plates. Then he has his own concoction he makes that like it's like a what was that thing? Like it was like an inside out pizza.
Yeah. It was like a Panzerotti.
But he made that menu item.
Oh wow.
So pretty drunk and he's small talk. He's like, what does your wife do for a living? I'm like, she's a supply teacher. Supply. We got to get her a full-time job. I'm like, what? How do we do that? All of a sudden, the phone's out. Ding, ding, ding. Calls. He goes, yeah. Hey, I got a friend. His wife needs a job. Yeah, full-time position. Yeah, teacher. All right, bye. He looks at me, goes, done. I go, what? I didn't tell you her name. I didn't tell you what district she's in. How is this done? But I'm drunk and admittedly a little naive at this time. So I'm like, Alex, so I just got you a full-time job. Like Frank hooked you up. And then another bottle of wine comes.
Well, no, Peter leaves. He gives us all a hug. Sweet guy.
Yeah, Peter leaves. He didn't talk too much. He was kind of almost there just to get his balls busted the whole time. But he kind of enjoyed it. Like the relationship was nice. Really sweet guy.
He had a lunch.
He left. So I'm like, are we supposed to leave? Another bottle of wine comes, I guess. I'm like, I guess not. We start talking. Next thing I know, we're getting offered a movie role in Frank's next film.
What's it called?
We might have to beep this, but
Okay.
Frank's playing
Oh wow.
going to be the coach.
He's getting in the movie?
So if you don't know, it's a very prominent actor if we're beeping this because we have to protect this. Also, might be in the film.
Come on.
Also known as
I don't even think we can talk about the plot because it's
Okay.
Frank's plot to talk about is what I'll say. So we'll leave the details to Frank.
it's the most interesting plot I've ever heard. Frank describes the entire film to us. Like I'm almost in tears. Of course, Frank wrote it.
He's doing scenes at the table.
He's doing the entire movie at the table, the most emotional scenes.
And remember, we're about 5 bottles of $300 wine
It's
in right now.
actually making me emotional.
Shane's starting to tear up.
Mike, what was your take at that time? Were you drawn in?
Yeah, I wanted to know how the story was going to end once he got into sort of this character's plight and how it would all happen. And I was starting to think about motivation for our characters from when we're on set.
Oh, do you want to know what character we're playing?
What's our character?
We're playing ourselves in the movie. I'm not joking. We're playing podcasters.
And how do we?
We're like, I guess it's a scene in a movie when a big event happens. They kind of cut away to news organizations, like talking about it. So we're one of the news organizations. He's like, we'll get your logo in there, everything. We'll get Mike on Much, nice and prominent. He's like, you're playing yourself. So Max, will you do this role?
Okay, so full disclosure, we had a long conversation about this hypothetical role. And I had some apprehension about it. I had some questions I wanted to ask. I wanted to kind of go over it with management. But the detail that you left out were these prominent actors in the movie. Now that I know that, I'm in. Of course I'm in.
Yes.
Ashley, I'm sorry, but I'm in the movie. All right.
Okay. So things are going very well at this dinner. Like we're like wheeling and dealing
Yeah.
here for the pod.
Of course. It sounds amazing. You guys are doing great work.
And then he's talking about a pod sponsorship, like possibly us promoting his film on the pod, which if you're listening to this episode, you'll probably notice it is sponsored by The Neighborhood.
Yeah.
But then
you don't say no to a lot of things after 6 bottles of $300 wine.
Yeah.
I don't really remember the entire dinner. Like I did lose time a little bit. But were Frank and I getting into like a couple of arguments over the course of the meal?
Yeah, over movies and then over whether somebody starred in a movie or not. And then you were looking up IMDb and he beat you like 2 out of 2 times.
Oh, and then Frank showed me a commercial. Like he has this old commercial
That was
where
another thing you contested him on.
where he plays every character in the commercial. And I go, Frank, you're not this character.
The chef.
He goes, that's me. And I go, no, it's not. He goes, you don't think I know who the I am? He's like, that's me. And then we showed it to his buddy who was still there at the time. His buddy's like, I don't think that's you, Frank.
we explode laughing.
But then the pod kind of reminds him of a tiff we've had in the past, like a beef.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, another thing about our last dinner, the one I paid for you, I gave you 24 hours notice. That's bullshit what you said.
The interview he stood us up on.
At Mama D's.
As listeners will know.
I was like,
saga.
Frank, like I should have checked my email, but it was not 24 hours notice. Before I know it, the phone's out. He's calling his assistant to check. And then he's like, Gemma, all right, I'm going to hand the phone to Mike. You tell him how many hours notice you give. And then he hands this little phone to Mike.
I'm like, Gemma, how's it going? It's Mike Viren. She's like, hey. I'm like, we're having this wonderful lunch. Shane and Frank are in a little bit of a tiff right now. They're having a difference of opinion. Shane claims that you did not give him 24-hour notice before Frank bailed on our interview. Frank says there's no way you would ever do that, Gemma. So I just wanted to clarify that for them before they really get into it. And she's like, it wasn't 24 hours notice. I sent it around 11 at night, but Shane did not check his email. He says he's having email issues.
So I was kind of right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's not good to be right though when the host is being so
I
generous.
know, but
Yeah, especially when he's sponsoring this damn episode.
Anyway, we end up getting the sponsorship deal.
You're making deals. This is how big business happens over lunch.
Another bottle of wine comes. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like legless at this point. Frank is getting kind of emotional too because he's like, out of nowhere too, he's like, why'd you buy Red Maple Leaf? I would have given it to you. I'm like, how'd you know I bought the Red Maple Leaf? He's like, I saw what you did. So on his website, after our interview, I realized, I don't have the Red Maple Leaf in my collection, one of his latest film. So he saw that I ordered and bought it off the website, and I think I totally gained his respect for doing that. Well, I own every one of his movies. Yeah. So he knows I'm a legit fan, I'm not just a bullshit artist.
And as the wine was flowing, Shane and Frank, I think, do have a good bond, and they were starting to go back and forth and really connect on the films. And I just kind of sat back and enjoyed a glass and watched the two men work.
At the very end, he was like, okay, I'm sending you guys home in a car. We're like, no, you don't have to do that. So he couldn't figure out how to get his driver there or whatever. And then I think he downloaded the Uber app or got Gemma to or something on one of his phones, like remotely.
Just ordered an Uber.
Yeah, ordered an Uber for us. Uber comes.
Hey, before the car came, you forgot about this. What are your wives like? What do your wives like to eat?
Oh, yeah.
Gets the waiter over again, orders some pasta. He's like, your wife eat fish? Okay, fish. What's your wife eat? He gets 2 things for us to bring home.
Wow.
Delicious pasta.
What a gentleman.
And it was amazing.
What a great
Danica
host.
loved it, yeah.
Gets the Uber driver over. Frank tipped $100 in cash.
Wow.
Just gave it to her, left it in the passenger. She was trying not to take it. But Frank, you don't say no to Frank.
He said, make sure my boys get home all right.
Wow.
And then so we got home, and that was it, and kind of the rest is history.
Shane slept the whole way home.
And don't forget to check out The Neighborhood in select theaters August 18th, all across Canada.
That's it. That's all. That's our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Oceaga special. Hope it was enjoyable. We appreciate you guys listening.
You can find the Mike on Much podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. Please leave a comment and ratings in the iTunes section there for the podcast. Huge shout out to Jenna Gregory, who does the doodles, jennasdoodles.com. Huge thank you to Dan Carruthers. He tells us every week, don't thank me, thank other people. But Dan did a killer job this weekend in Montreal. He really makes this thing go.
And thanks so much to Much for sending us to Oceaga and the Virgin Mobile Members Lounge, and Justin Stockman, and Mike McShane, and everybody that helps us out with this thing. The Mike on Much podcast is produced by Max Kerman. I'm your host, Mike Bierman. See you next week. We don't die on the weekend. Ow!